back to East Texas now. Joined with us at the desk here, we have reporter JD Conte with a potentially last update in the Daniel Nyabuto trial.
Yep, potentially last update. We're on what I believe is the defense's last witness. We have a couple witnesses on both sides that are subject to recall. Wouldn't be surprised if some of those are. So we're on the defense's last witness as of now. So we could wrap up as early as today, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if we go into last week. So we're in the heart of the defense's case in this instance. You can see some of the video from this morning playing right now. They have this guy on the stand who's testifying in part yesterday, Dr. Valentine, who's a really well-respected expert in the forensic toxicology field. And his main argument is that the BAC that was reflected by the state doesn't reflect how Nyabuto was acting on the scene. So they went over that body cam footage that you saw just playing a couple seconds ago, and he was saying .14 doesn't really reflect how he's acting at the scene. And then on redirect, the state says, well, you didn't show where he's doing the walk and turn and he's stumbling. And then the other thing that they were talking about is how DPS does their blood exams. If you've ever sat in on a DUI trial, the defense will always try and get this thing kind of thrown out. So Dr. Valentine, with all due respect, his resume is incredible. He's taught at so many universities. I was very impressed. So his thing is that DPS's way they do their blood tests is just not as good as it should be. So it's not necessarily this case, but more as a whole. So that was his argument, and that .1414 isn't necessarily what it actually was on the night of Daniel Nyabuto's, the crash that happened. So that .14, what has just been testified to in court, was at 2:35 a.m., which is over 2 hours after the crash. And obviously the legal limit in Texas here is .08. So the next witness that we had was the defense's own crash expert. You know, we talked about how we were expecting the defense to kind of have their own witnesses in terms of the state. So their crash reconstruction expert was basically saying that he doesn't agree with the one that DPS did. The video that you were seeing there was when troopers were reenacting the scene, basically driving down 155 and then avoiding a parked Tahoe, which was the scene of the crash, and avoiding it at the last second. He was arguing that the state's testimony that you could have seen Deputy Boos's car from 600 to 700 feet away, was not valid. He's testified that it was 570 feet away, so Nyabuto would have had less time to react. And why he said that was because there was this kind of bush of trees as you're coming around a corner. So there was a lot of factors coming into that. So he's also arguing that because of the lighting and things of that nature, that it wasn't the same, aspects that Nyabuto would have seen in that video that the jury saw. So we're in the heart of the defense's case right now, but we still could wrap up today, theoretically.
Theoretically. All right. Well, I'm glad that we have it is helpful to paint a full picture to see exactly what has been going down and the timeline. If it does go into next week, why is it going into next week? That kind of thing. So big thanks to you, JD, for coming here, getting us the latest again on that Daniel Nyabuto trial. We'll see if it wraps up today, and if it does, then we'll have an update from you. If not, then we will see you next week for another breakdown.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks. All right.